Welcome to the Her Story Circle podcast, the podcast that brings you the extraordinary tales of everyday women who are changing the world. I'm your host, Gertrude Mache, and I'd like to acknowledge traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today. I also like to pay my respects to elders, past, present, and emerging. Every week, we dive into the lives, challenges, and triumphs of women from all four corners of the globe. We're here to inspire, enlighten, and connect, sharing stories that uplift and empower. So grab a cup of coffee, settle in, and join us as we explore the incredible journeys of women shaping our future. This is Her Story, where every woman's voice matters. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Her Story Circle. This is Gertrude Mache here in beautiful Melbourne, Australia. And today I am graced with the presence of yet another fascinating young woman. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our tribe. Please tell everybody your full name, where you're based, and share your story with us today.
Hello, everyone. My name is Cassandra Hill. I am here in the U.S. in the natural state of Arkansas. So glad to be here with you guys. My background, I am a master life coach, author, and speaker. Some may know me as the transformation agent for Black women. And I have a mission to empower women toward emotional and mental well-being while having that financial stability as an entrepreneur. I've been doing this work now, oh my goodness. It's hard to believe. I've been doing this work for 7 years now? 7 years as an entrepreneur. Just been focused on restoring primarily women. Don't get mad at me, guys. I have had guy clients in the past, but mostly empowering women to have that well-being we deserve. And I know a lot of ladies can relate to working and just giving your all, whether that's in a corporate setting or even sometimes when we transition out of corporate and we find ourselves being an entrepreneur, but we haven't broken those habits where we're just running like the Energizer battery and we find ourselves working on fumes. And at one time, that was me when I did work in corporate America, worked and really caused my body to have a complete shutdown. And in the course of that shutdown, being diagnosed with the autoimmune condition and eventually gaining the tools needed to restore my health and get back on the other side of things. This is really what made me be motivated to empower other women to have the life we really deserve, because for many of us, outside of the corporate, outside of being an entrepreneur, we're taking care of kids, spouse, just everyone else is on that to-do list, right? But we don't check ourselves. We won't even have ourselves on the list. And so I am on a mission to change that. And that is how I ended up in this line of work, because that at one time was me. And too many of us, especially when we think about entrepreneurship, there is a recent study that was conducted that concluded 72% of entrepreneurs have some type of mental health illness. And I don't know about you, but 72%, that's a lot. That is a high number. And one of the top diagnoses was anxiety as well as depression. And a lot of times those conditions definitely are brought on by stress, right? So when we figure out healthy alternatives to managing our stress, because we know that dis-ease, right? Dis-ease, trick on those words, that most dis-ease starts with stress. Believe it or not, most conditions, stress is involved. So when we figure out healthy ways to manage our emotional and mental well-being, we really create a foundation to have wellness in every aspect of our life, right? So that's what I'm doing, one woman, sometimes guy at a time.
Are you finished?
Yes.
You had 10 minutes, so we'll go into the Q&A. You've already talked for 6 minutes, but that's okay. I'll start asking.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
what you shared
Uh,
that nothing in your circumstances changed at first, but only your mindset when we talked. What shifted mentally that opened the door for transformation for you?
Mentally, what shifted for me was believing that something different was even possible for myself. Because I know for me, initially when you're told a thing and you're told something by a professional, a doctor, you believe it, right? It's like if the doctor says this, like, okay, he's the expert, so I'm just gonna take him at his word. And for a long time, I believed that, okay, this is a condition I'm going to have. There isn't anything I can do about it. But honestly, when I thought, okay, he's a man, just like anyone else, he could be wrong. That thought motivated me to start looking at things differently, and then just seeing what I could do to change my circumstances. And when I started thinking different, what I found, my mind started attracting me to what I was thinking of.
So, how has your personal experience with domestic violence shaped your work that you're doing today?
With domestic violence, I think a lot of times we think domestic violence is only physical, right? Which that is a one type of domestic violence, but you could also experience domestic violence and it be psychological, financial, social. There's other ways a person can be violent towards you. And for me, in the past, being in a unhealthy, toxic relationship, once I got to the point to where I started loving myself more and realizing my worth, it laid that foundation to whatever I do needs to be where I'm putting me first, loving myself first. And I realized that self-love is a foundation to have healthy relationships, not just in your personal life, but also professionally as well. So it's helped me in attracting just ideal partners in the business realm. It definitely helps in knowing your worth and being able to command what you deserve, and also being able to attract healthy relationships in your personal life as well.
Now, why do you believe domestic violence amongst Black women is one of the most urgent conversations that we need to be having right now?
Yeah. For Black women, it's so urgent because when we look at the data, we know that 45% of Black women experience domestic violence from their intimate partners.
Mm.
That's the latest data from the National Domestic Abuse Hotline. And we know that there are so many women who will experience domestic violence, but they will never report it. So if it's 45% that is called in and tracked, it is pretty safe to say that over half of Black women experience domestic violence, which would make it an epidemic in here in the United States, and it must be addressed with immediately because there are lives on the line, not only for that woman, but for those in her system as well. Oftentimes, a person who is violent, they don't always come after the woman. I know some people think, well, why doesn't she leave? You could leave, and many times leaving escalates the situation to where that person becomes even more violent, which I'm not saying stay in a unhealthy relationship, but this puts so many people at risk to where we need to have more conversations about this, solutions on decreasing this epidemic, and ways to keep the woman safe, children, as well as those in her system, in her circle.
Mm. Now, you walked through loss, illness, toxic relationship, and career collapse. What season challenged you the most, and what did you learn from it?
Oh, goodness. That's a really great question, Gertrude. If I had to say the season that challenged the most, it would probably be losing my career.
Mm.
And I would say that simply because when I worked in corporate America for a really long time, for a little over a decade, and I was one of those people who you go to college, you get the degrees and all the things, and straight out of graduate school, I started my career. And I always believed that, which my background, I'm a gerontologist. And so I thought I would be doing that till I retired, honestly. And although I enjoyed what I did, now that I've had time to be away from it, I realized it wasn't my calling, right? Um, but in the midst of doing it, and like I said, doing it for so long and having to step away because of my health and losing that stability, financial stability, right? Um, that impacted me in ways that I just never thought about, with
Mm.
the health challenges, um, moving in with my parents, and it just impacted me in so many ways that although it turned out to be a blessing, it definitely was hard to make that transition from being a corporate woman to eventually transitioning into entrepreneurship.
Mm. It's been quite a journey. So, what are the biggest misconceptions about healing from trauma or chronic illness?
Yeah, I think the biggest myth, most people think it's just an overnight thing, and there's so many quote unquote experts who, they're telling you, well, 30 days path to healing, and it doesn't work like that. When you experience a trauma, it takes time. You will not heal in 10 seconds, in 30 days. It's a process. And honestly, that process is ongoing. You get to spaces where, like, I consider myself, I'm in a space now where I'm whole, you know, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, but you're still doing the work. The work never stops. And
Mm.
so I think that's the biggest myth, to where you get to a point where you feel like, oh, okay, I'm good. I don't have to do anything else to address my mental or emotional well being.
So, how did your relationship with self love evolve through your journey?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. It has changed so much, because in the beginning, I think for me, um, didn't quite love myself, didn't fully know my worth. And I think part of that was attached to having complications with pregnancy and everything, and just feeling like not being able to have a child in the traditional way made me feel like I wasn't worthy. And getting to a place, initially it was like, oh, okay, that just one part of God's plan for your life, right? Um, and so accepted that, but still didn't fully love me, and it took time to realize that, okay, you're so much more than that. You bring so many gifts and talents to the world. And now I feel like I'm at a place to where, I think we all have moments where it's like, oh goodness, but overall, it's just like, I love me. I love my melanin skin. I love everything about me, inside and out. And
That's
so it's definitely been a journey.
Now, you mentioned integrity as one of your core values.
Hmm.
How has integrity guided your healing and your leadership?
Yeah. Um, Integrity, I would say, with my leadership, just ensuring that the things I do are done with the right motives. It's really been important. Making sure that the people I'm called to serve know that I'm here for you. I'm your biggest cheerleader. And it's just not about a dollar, right? Yes, I'm an entrepreneur. Yes, this is my livelihood, but I care about you. And I think people can see that, feel the genuineness of you, and that's helped me grow as an entrepreneur, and even just as a woman, um, on the leadership side of me. I feel in me just focus on being the best version of Cassandra, being honest, that integrity is going to allow me to just be authentic, which is really important on your healing journey, being your authentic self, and then just being open to um, different ways of healing as well.
So, what emotional or spiritual costs do women pay when they hide their stories?
Yeah. When you hide who you are, and we're dealing with that, especially as Black women, we tend to mask who we are, have that code switch, that's something that we hear a lot. And when you do that, it hurts you in ways sometimes won't even realize. When you're not being your authentic self, you're telling yourself that you don't deserve to show up as you, that you're not worthy, you're not deserving, that what you bring to the table isn't enough. And for many of us, especially women, just in general, even when you think about our wages, something simple as that, many of us aren't paid equal to our counterparts. And I feel, um, although there's no circumstance that makes that right, but part of it is because we don't come up to the seat at the table and be our authentic selves, so they don't get a chance to experience everything that we could bring to the table, you know.
That's so true. So, how do you help women to rebuild their identity after years of pain, loss, or violence?
Yeah. The first thing we do, I look at it, it's like an onion. We have to peel back those layers, just one layer at a time, get to the root of what hurts you and what hurt you and made you get stuck at that point. And once we identify that, we work on that, and then from there we can start adding the self-love. We can start working on who you are as a person so you can show up as your authentic self. And from there, I develop what I call a transformation plan. And the transformation plan um, is something that me and typically a woman, we go through, and I ask a series of questions just to get to know you better, your past, present, future, where you want to go, and we create a transformation plan that's going to get you to where you want to be presently as well as in the future.
So, what role does faith or spirituality play in your transformation?
For me, it's really, really important because without faith, um, in for me, I believe in God. Without that faith, it's hard to have a firm foundation of who you are. Because what I have found for most people who have a faith, they know that, oh, okay, I'm made in the image of God. That's something I know for sure. And when they need that extra support in loving themselves, in valuing themselves, they're able to at least have that base foundation that, hey, I'm made in the image of God, so I am worthy of love. So in my style of being a master life coach, I found it pretty essential.
That's good. Now, let's finish off with this last question. If you could speak directly to a woman who is exhausted, overwhelmed, and barely holding on, what would you want her to hear today?
If you are tired, if you're overwhelmed and you're barely holding on, I want you to know that if you are capable of loving, if you have the ability to love, start with yourself first. Start with loving yourself first. Know that you're worthy, you're deserving, and self love is a love that will last forever.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for coming online and sharing your story with us today. And thank you so much. And thank you to everybody who tuned in. The Her Story Circle is not just a podcast. We're a social impact movement that brings you the stories and voices of women from all over the world. We share our stories to uplift you, to inspire you, to energize you, but most importantly, to take you from where you are now to where you're trying to go. So if you are a woman who's looking for support, is looking for help, feeling overwhelmed, here's an expert that can help you. Or if you know somebody who does need help, please share this podcast, tag people on your social media. Let's get this video to as many women as possible. I'll be back again tomorrow, everybody, with yet another amazing guest. In the meantime, have a fantastic day, morning, or evening, wherever you are in the world. And Cassandra, thanks again for the interview.
Thanks so much. I appreciate the invitation, Gertrude.
Bye for now, everybody. Thank you for tuning into the Her Story Circle podcast. I hope today's story has inspired you to believe in the power of our stories and the difference you can make in the world when you use your voice. I'm Gertrude Mache, and it's been an honor to share this space with you, where voices from all walks of life come together to weave a rich tapestry of diverse perspectives. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast to help us share these stories with more listeners. Follow us on social media by looking for the Her Story Circle podcast for more updates. And join us tomorrow for another episode filled with courage, resilience, and empowerment. Remember, your story matters, and together we're building a stronger, more inclusive world. Until next time, keep making her story.